So today's video is going to be on Sraffa section 6 to 7. It's Sraffa's distinction between basic and non-basic products. So following on from the section in which Sraffa introduces the equations for the production of a surplus in two industries, he now says that this production of a surplus, it leaves room for a class of luxury products. And that's because essentially, so in the two-sector scheme, when there was a surplus, it was just distributing the wheat among those two industries. But there's an alternative thing that you can do, and that's take that surplus wheat and exchange it against something else. And that something else would be a luxury product, which then gets distributed between the three industries as a surplus product. So in order to do this, I'm going to use Sraff's three-sector subsistence economy again, but rather than using his distribution of the pigs, we're going to distribute it according to the 1 plus R criterion that he uses for the production of a surplus. So this is what the set of equations look like. So you've got your iron, your wheat, and your pigs, and the first thing that you want to notice is that the pigs don't exist on the left hand side of the equation. The pigs are only on the right hand side, just here. And because of that, so the pigs are going to be distributed through all of the industries, through all three industries, as the surplus product. Whereas iron and wheat are both means of production, they both enter into the production of all of the other products. So if we want to find the solution to this, I'm going to use Wolfram alpha again. You want to remove these because we're going to make iron the standard product again. So remove these and then enter it in this format. And when you enter it into the calculator in this format, I'll put the link again down the bottom. You come out with the solution, and the solution looks like this. So I'm going to read you the paragraph from Sraffa. He says, the luxury products have no part in the determination of the system. Their role is purely passive. If an invention were to reduce by half the quantity of each of the means of production which are required to produce a unit of a luxury commodity of this type, the commodity itself would be halved in price, but there would be no further consequences. The price relations of the other products and the rate of profits would remain unaffected. But if such a change occurred in the production of a commodity of the opposite type, which does enter the means of production, all prices would be affected and the rate of profits would be changed. This can be seen if we eliminate from the system the equation representing the production of a luxury good. So we can test this out. Let's eliminate this line of the equation which represents the luxury good and see what happens. So I've removed that line from the equation, and this is the result. And as you can see, the rate of profit, which was 0.299471 here, is exactly the same here. The unit price of wheat is still 0.112894. All that's happened is that this unit price of pig has disappeared. Now, why is that? So if we look back to the last section, so now we've only got these two lines up here left in the equation. And so actually this is very similar to the equation that existed before in Sraffa's two-sector example. Now instead of only wheat there being a surplus of wheat, there's a surplus of iron as well, because the iron and the wheat that are used here are now not being used for the production of pigs because we've removed this line. So that means that we have 3 iron here and 120 wheat here that are not being used for anything. They're now a surplus. And so these 3 iron and the 120 wheat get distributed using these two equations now. It's no longer the pigs being distributed by these equations now. It's now these again. So it ends up the prices of these don't change at all. What happens if we remove one of the other equations? So let's say we remove the iron equation, and so this no longer exists. Well, now the equation, it doesn't make any sense, because over here when we remove the line that included the pigs, it changed the meaning of the 1 plus r, because it changed the meaning of the surplus, what was being distributed. So the fact that pigs didn't appear on the left-hand side of the equation is really important. So the iron industry has been eliminated, but yet still here we're using 12 iron and 3 iron. So like the equations they're not telling us where this iron is coming from, and so the system can't be solved. If you put it into the calculator, it comes up with like a result of 0, -1, 0, something like that. You can try it if you want. It doesn't work. It doesn't work if you do the wheat either. So what Sraffa says is that the criterion for whether something is a basic product or a non-basic product is whether it enters directly or indirectly into all commodities. Those that do, they're called basic. Those that don't, they're called non-basic. So how does this relate to the left and right side of the equations? Suppose you had a system in which you get rid of this wheat here. You have like a mechanized wheat industry. They no longer need any labor, so they're going to do it all by machines. So then you have, so here, let's just make it easy and say that they're only going to make 210 wheat now. So now there's no wheat in this industry, but because we've got 12 iron entering the industry here, and in order to make iron you need wheat, so the wheat is now entering indirectly into the production of wheat, then it's still going to be a basic product. Wheat is still going to be a basic product. So another way of saying this is that for a non-basic product, the price of its means of production does not depend on its price. So it doesn't matter what the price of the pigs is for the means of production. And that's why if you delete the line, it doesn't change any of the other prices. But for the basic products, the price of its means of production, it is important, and they have to be determined simultaneously. You can't determine it beforehand. And this is important for the idea of cost of production. This is Sraffa's final point. Costs aren't this like separate real thing that exists prior to the production process and the determination of the prices. So the classical economists had often talked about costs as a kind of real thing, but in Sraffa's system he's saying no, because the price of the basic products also depends on the price of the means of production, and the price of the means of production depends on the price, and they all depend on the quantity of commodities. So it's not this simple thing that you can separate out. And because it depends on the quantities of commodities, so it really matters for the determination of the price how many iron is going into making iron and how many wheat is going into making iron, and so on. With the basic products, then Sraffa says it depends on the use that the product is put to in the production process. It's not just an arbitrary quantity. It's really, it's really part of the production process how much iron is going to be needed to be bought for the production of wheat, for example. And so this is his point about it depending on the demand side as much as the supply side. But he also says that it's misleading to call it that because of the connotations of that for utility theory, which he's exiting in his analysis. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of analysis in the next video. I don't necessarily agree with this distinction, and I'll say why.